So this is going to be the first build video for the wooden surfboard. So what's the first thing I need to do? I need to make a stringer. I've already got a design of the type of surfboard I want to build. I want to build a groveler type of surfboard. For when the surf isn't that big, I want something that I can play around with. And also it'll be a smaller board, and because this is going to be a chambered wooden surfboard build, it's going to take a lot of work, I suspect, compared to making a foam board. So I have already made my stringer, so that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to show you how to make this stringer. I have other videos on how to make stringers, but I thought it'd be good to just post a real quick video on how to make a stringer, or how I make a stringer. There's more than one way of doing it. The way I do it is I like to use the, see if I got it here, the Clark Foam Surfboard catalog. I like to base my stringers on existing blanks that have been used for decades. Why reinvent the wheel? So, other ways of doing it though is you could trace out an existing board, you could design one in CAD on the computer, or you could just freehand one. I'll leave it entirely up to you how you're going to do it, but the way I did it was I picked one out of the Surfboard catalog. This one's the 6-foot R, and it's on page 15 of this catalog. So what I like to do with this is it has all the dimensions, and let's see if I can find page 15. And this video, I'm just going to go real quick through how I make this stringer, so I'm not going to go super in depth. Check out my other two build series, one on how to make a EPS surfboard, and then the other one more recent is an XPS surfboard, and they both go in depth on how I make a stringer. So in the catalog, each surfboard blank has dimensions for the blank itself and also for the stringer. So the profile of the board from the side-on view. And it includes the dimensions marked at a foot, marked from the middle, a foot from the nose, a foot from the tail, and using those dimensions, they measure how far up. If you can imagine a straight line here, it measures from that straight line up to the bottom of the stringer and to the top of the stringer, and it gives you those two dimensions that you mark on your wood, on your plywood. I'm using some plywood here, and then I connect the lines together using a round flexible dowel. I'm going to go through in this video and show you how to do that. I won't do too much narration, I don't think, with that. It's pretty self-explanatory now that I've explained that. And like I said, check out some of my previous videos on how to make a stringer based off of the Clark Foam catalog. That's essentially how you do it. Real easy. So let's just get right into the video. You know what? I don't think I did a good enough job explaining how I trace off the Clark Foam catalog stringer profile onto a piece of wood for cutting out. So I'm going to go through it real quick. And also, you can get the Clark Foam catalog now that it's deprecated. They're out of business. You can just do a search online for it. It'll pop up. So here is the outline of the blank. Here is the stringer itself. So the stringer profile. And then you can kind of see, hopefully I have it zoomed in enough. The middle, it only gives one mark. So if you could imagine if we took a straight edge and laid the stringer on a straight edge here, the middle does not have any corresponding number on the bottom, because this is actually touching the bottom of your straight edge. And then here it's at 2 3/4 wide. So that means it's 2 3/4. When you move to, say, this mark here, which represents 2 feet in from the tail, this one says 1/4 of an inch. So this is 1/4 of an inch up, and then I make a mark on my wood. And then on the top it's 2 1/2, and then I make a mark on my wood. Then I come to 1 foot back from the tail, and I measure 1/8, and then 2 inches, and again, make 2 marks. And then back here, at the tail, it gives me 2 inches, so I make a mark at 2 inches, which represents the bottom of the stringer. So on this blank, there's 4 inches at the nose. I make a mark, which for a blank this short, that's about what I was looking for. Not too much kick. Usually short blanks have a little more kick in the nose, but I want something a little flatter for this board. And then again at the 1 foot mark, make your marks at 1 1/4 and 1 3/4. And here this one I believe is 1 1/4. Oh, sorry, 1/4, and then 2 1/2. Then I connect using a dowel and draw it all out. So you'll see that here in a second. Alright, so this is what I have done so far on the stringer. I got it roughly profiled out, and for the most part I'm going to use these wooden stringers to trace out onto the 2x6 wooden boards. And that way, each one that I trace it out on, I don't have any variation. If I'm using a paper stencil or a cardboard stencil, a wooden stencil is the way to go. I need to profile down the back, or I should say the tail, and also the nose, so that it's thinned out. So I'm going to try to get this to as close as the finished profile of the surfboard as possible, because that'll save me a lot of shaping time on the wood, I suspect. I'll leave a little bit so in case of errors and variations in cutting out each individual piece of the surfboard, of the pieces of lumber. So I think that should about do it for this stringer. I'll just, like I said, finish off the tip and the tail, and then we'll start tracing this out and cutting out the pieces of lumber and start assembling the wooden blank. When you're sanding this, make sure to do long, even passes. You don't want to sit in one spot and grind away at it. I've mentioned this in some of my previous videos when I'm making foam surfboards. Long, even passes. Don't be like sitting in one spot and then sanding divots into the stringer. Then get down, look the whole thing over. Make sure that it looks nice and smooth arcs. That's looking pretty good. So I have these 2x6s all clamped together because I want them to dry out a bit. There's still a lot of moisture in this lumber, and if I leave each piece to dry on its own, what will happen is while it's acclimatizing to the inside of my garage, they'll turn into noodles. They'll just go all warped and everything. Now, when I bought these, I made sure to buy them when they were stacked in a pile so that they were nice and flat and square, and they all fit together flush. You can see that there's no real weird cupping or crowns on them. So we're gonna let this acclimatize and dry out for the next month, and then we'll mark them out and start working on the wooden board.